So now we're ready to move on. Let's take a look at the Cob Scout. And my opening statement with the Cob Scout is this. Once first tassel forms, once you see your first tassel, everything changes. Everything changes. What you look for changes, where you look, and what you do changes. So everything changes. Maize has two high-risk growth stages. We've already talked about the seedling stage. And now we want to talk about the early cob development stage. Cob damage does not occur in every maize planting. Cob damage depends on a combination of egg-laying pressure at first tassel and the weather. When cob damage does occur, it can be devastating. When the tassel emerges, it pushes the armyworm out of the world. Where do they go? After first tassel, armyworms move down the plant to the leaf axils where they attack the developing cobs. As the larvae migrate down the plant to the cobs, they are exposed and vulnerable. There's a brief period of time immediately following first tassel where if you catch them, you can prevent cob damage. However, once the armyworms penetrate the cobs, it's almost impossible to control them. So you got to get them before they penetrate the cobs. Once again, the life cycle of the fall armyworm is short. It progresses from eggs to large larvae in about 2 weeks. The presence of any larvae, large or small, means that cobs are at risk. The time to control large armyworms attacking the cobs was 2 weeks ago when they were small. Check your maize fields carefully at first tassel. Look for any larvae, regardless of size. Look for any sign of fresh feeding. Check 5 representative locations per hectare. Examine 10 plants in a row. Use the ladder pattern when the plants are tall. Walk down the middle of the field. Sample left and right until you sample 5 locations per hectare. When checking plants after first tassel, inspect the leaf axils above and below the cobs, and also inspect the cobs. So gently pull the ear away from the stem and examine the base of the cob. What you're seeing here is a fall armyworm chewing away at the base of the cob down there. You see it? Now, what is the problem here? Well, we're looking at probably a 5th instar armyworm, maybe a 6th, and it's already penetrated the cob. And once they've penetrated the cob, they're impossible to control. They should have been controlled 2 weeks ago when they were small. At each location, record the number of infested plants with larvae or any sign of fresh feeding. All you need to scout a field is a piece of paper and a dull pencil. Again, an experienced scout should be able to check a field and make an informed decision in about 15 minutes. Exit the field and calculate, in this case, the percent infested plants. The percent infested plants. If 20% or 2 out of 10 plants are infested with armyworms or have any sign of fresh feeding, take action. Now we need to talk about something here. When the plants are tall, risk of applicator intoxication by pesticide is high. The applicators will be walking through foliage that is wet with insecticide. Now, if you can't afford to hire a spray service provider, if the farmer has no protective equipment, they're using a highly toxic material, and they can't afford to hire a spray service provider, you should advise them to not apply any insecticide after first tassel because it's too dangerous. Be careful. Use an effective low toxicity insecticide. There are several insecticides that are highly effective on fall armyworm that are very low in toxicity. I can name them. One would be Coragen, which is chlorantraniliprole. Another one would be Spintorin. These are highly effective on fall armyworm and very low toxicity. They're expensive, but if you've got worms at the base of your cob, they're a good value. And then, regardless, wear personal protective equipment. During the reproductive stages of maize, there are 3 keys to successful fall armyworm management. Check your maize fields during early cob development immediately after first tassel. Look for any larvae, regardless of size, or any sign of fresh feeding. Base your management decision on percent infested plants. And most important, apply control when the larvae are small, before they grow large and penetrate the cob. Thanks for listening. That's the end of the second presentation.